Hello, view. Today we have a special guest joining us for a one-on-one conversation that promises to be insightful and inspiring. Please give a warm welcome to a longtime dedicated educator and independent candidate running for the CNMI seat in the U.S. House of Representatives, the remarkable Dr. Galvin Sablan Deleon Guerrero.
Thank you, Hapi. Hapi, Tiro, and Mabuhay. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
And thank you for being on the show, and thank you for joining us for this exclusive interview. Let's start with a little bit of background about yourself, Dr. G, your political experiences and what you're doing.
Okay, well, of course, I've spent 3 decades of my life as an educator, doing everything from teaching to leading in the public and the private sector, and even policy development on the CNMI Public School System Board of Education, as well as the Northern Marianas College Board of Regents. But in addition to that, I served in the office of the governor during the term of Governor Juan Necay Babalta and the late Lieutenant Governor Diego Benavente, where I served as an education advisor. And throughout these past 3 decades, I've also dabbled in a lot of things. I've loved telling stories on stage and in film, so I've produced over 50 stage and film productions. I continue to coach public speaking and mock trial, but in terms of politics, I ran for lieutenant governor in a Republican primary back in 2009 as a running mate for Juan Necay Babalta, and the former delegate, Congressman Kilili. The entire 16 years he was in DC, I was his campaign manager. And fun fact, now he's the chairman for my campaign committee. So he's returning the favor.
So it is very clear, Dr. G, that you're not a newcomer in the world of politics. And your decision to run as an independent candidate has sparked a wave of curiosity and excitement. Can you share with us what inspired you to run again, and this time for Congress office?
Well, I think throughout my entire life, I've always worked hard to improve lives through education, because I do believe that education can really transform lives, and it can lift people out of poverty, but it can also contribute to a better society. People who are educated tend to be more engaged in their communities, tend to actually be healthier, and they tend to just live happier lives. So it contributes to the community. But I started to see some limitations, and so I wanted to do more for more people beyond education, and that's why I want to run for delegate, to ensure that not only is our voice heard in DC, but also the needs of the CNMI are met, both in DC and here in the CNMI.
You are a beacon of light in the world of education, Dr. G. And being a doctor of education, so your background, your fight, your focus have been a lot about education. Now that you're running for Congress, what are those kind of priorities in addition to education? What would you say you're really hoping to make an impact on?
Well, first and foremost is the economy. People are really suffering right now, and I am laser focused on doing what we can at the federal level, at the national level, to improve the economy here at the local level.
Now that you've mentioned the CNMI's economy, which is one of the biggest challenges we are currently facing, it's important to note that the CNMI is home to good and hardworking people. However, due to our economic downturn, various businesses, both large and small, have been shutting their doors, making it hard for people to make ends meet. If elected to Congress, how do you propose to address this pressing issue?
Well, there are 3 top priorities I have when it comes to improving the economy. The first is to support the impressive efforts of our Marianas Visitors Authority with their rebranding of Far From Ordinary, and how they're really trying to rebrand the CNMI to cater to the current tourism market. And I'm looking forward to supporting that in whatever way that I can, because I think that is the future of tourism, and that will help bring the tourists back to the CNMI. But the second thing is there's this huge military development happening throughout the Marianas. And I feel like the way that has been organized is not really invested as much as it should. I'm definitely pro-military. I'm a firm believer in protecting our national security. But I'm also a fan of history, and when the Japanese were here, they were limited in what they could do in terms of building up a military. So what they did instead, like we remember with the recent celebration of the 150th birthday of Matsui, instead of investing in the military, the Japanese invested in the economy and they invested in the infrastructure. And when I look at the military development happening here, I see that local businesses and local workers and local people are being left behind, because a lot of these contracts are not going to local vendors. There are a few local vendors that are getting it, but also all this military development has not been matched by similar investments in the workforce, in training, in infrastructure, and in the economy. And so we need to ensure that as millions of dollars are being invested in the military, that we also invest in the economy.
Right.
And then the third thing I think that's really important for the economy is to really invest in food security and investing in our farmers. We import 90% of our food. Yet, again, going back to the Japanese time, at one point, agricultural production was so wonderful here that we were the second producer of sugar in the world. We were competing with Hawaii. And I think that we need to reinvest in our farming so that not only do we, kind of avoid importing all that food,
right,
we can provide an agricultural model that can export food. I mean, we've got produce being exported from Tinian to Guam.
Right.
It's a proof of concept, and I know that farmers work really hard and we need to support them. And that's what I fully intend to do if elected to Congress.
Transparency and honesty are key qualities that voters look for in a candidate. How do you plan to uphold these principles throughout your campaign and potential tenure in office?
Well, I've always believed that transparency is really built on trust. Do people trust you? And I think the key to earning people's trust is to really listen to them, is to really hear them and understand where they're coming from. I live by this motto that former President Teddy Roosevelt once said: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so it's important that you care enough about people, that you learn more about them, that you listen to them, that you understand the struggles that they're going through, and that you really hear them. And so that, I think, is the key to transparency, is earning trust by listening to people and maybe doing less talking and more listening, right? Like they say, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Oh, true. And your dedication to serving others is truly commendable. How do you plan to ensure that the voices of all community members, especially marginalized members, are heard and represented in your work as a potential representative?
Well, as I've mentioned before, I think the most important thing that a leader can do and should do is to listen, is to really meet people where they're at, learn more about them, hear them out. You may not have all the solutions, but you should at least hear all the questions, hear all the concerns, and hear all the stories. And I think, that's one of the reasons why I love theater and film, is that these are wonderful vehicles for helping us understand each other better. And I think that is something that we need to bring back. And I fully intend to continue listening to the people of the Northern Marianas, and to ensure that I take that understanding, that compassion, that empathy to DC, and make sure that they know that we're suffering just like they are, that we're Americans just like they are, that we want better lives for our families just like they do. And I think when we build that common space, really built on empathy, I think we can do amazing things together.
And speaking of amazing, Dr. G, former Congressman Galvin Sablan has done an amazing job and successfully enacted legislation known as the Humanitarian Parole Reform HR 559, which grants permanent status to over 1,000 long-term parolees in the Marianas. However, the bill designated as HR 560, which aims to provide permanent resident status for certain long-term CW workers and investors in the Marianas, has remained unpassed. If elected, would you advocate for the passage of this bill in Congress?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that there are often two perspectives taking to this issue that are often seen as the opposites, but I think I see them as complementary.
Right.
So first and foremost, there are so many people who have come to the Marianas and been in the Marianas for years, for decades, and they have contributed to the growth of our community.
Right.
They have contributed to the economy, the infrastructure. They have taught our students. They have really done so much. And so for anyone that calls the Northern Marianas home, we need to do everything we can to help make it home for them. So I think that is first and foremost. But equally important, equally important is we have also seen an exodus of the indigenous people. Many of them have moved throughout the state seeking greener pastures. And I think the same level of commitment and resources and innovation that we use to try to bring investors here and to bring businesses here, we need to do the same to bring our people back. Because our Marianas thrives when we have this diverse group of people. Our long-term visitors who have made this place home, as well as the indigenous people who have left home. We thrive as a community when we're all here together, working together to make things better together.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more, Dr. G. However, CNMI seems more and more divided, and there are always differing opinions in controversies in politics. How do you approach engaging with individuals who may have opposing views, and how do you plan to bridge the divide to find common ground for progress?
You know, what I learned from my mom is to always see the good in people. And I find that that is easier to do when you get offline and you deal with people face to face. There are so many people in our community that are sort of mimicking what we're seeing at the national level, where they get online and they say mean things to each other. But I find that when you get people together like this, that there is less temptation to be mean, and there's more room for kindness, compassion, and understanding. And that is something that is really a part of our cultures here. You know, as a Chamorro, I take to heart the Chamorro concept of inafamaulik, where we work together in harmony to make things better. And I'm convinced that if we spend less time on social media and more time being social, that we can do that. And that's something I intend to bring to Washington, D.C., that spirit of inafamaulik, that spirit of working together, of really understanding people and helping them understand you. I think that's what we need to do. Let me tell you this story. So my brother and I, for example, we are like so diametrically opposed on so many issues, but I have nothing but respect for him because I know that he is a combat veteran who served his country, our country, by serving 2 tours in Iraq, 1 tour in Kuwait. He's also someone who is a public school teacher that works really hard to help his students, and he is a single father who's raised his daughter to become an amazing person. So yes, maybe we disagree on issues, but we both share a commitment to our country, to our community, and to our families. And I think everyone has that, but we just need to learn to reconnect and humanize each other instead of demonizing each other on social media.
Well, as an independent candidate, Dr. G, how do you plan to navigate the complexities of the political landscape and work towards bipartisan solutions that benefit all constituents.
Well, I think that there's a lot more room for common ground and agreement than is often portrayed in the media, and I think that it's a matter of also listening not just to the people of the Northern Marianas, but also listening to other members of Congress, listening to members of Senate, listening to the members of the executive branch, and really understanding what their concerns are, and finding areas of agreement, areas where our interests overlap, find common ground. I'm convinced that that can and be done, and that will be done if we just listen also to your opponents, listen to other political parties, listen to people from other districts. But in addition to listening, one of the things that I fully intend to do is something I've done all my life, and that is I love learning and I love studying. And I love learning about other people, like learning that you've been here for 30 years, even though you're only 27 years old. I love studying, like I love studying history, and I think that as an academic, that's a skill I bring to the table, that I can really study issues and study Congress to the point where with the entire Northern Marianas, with the leadership of the Northern Marianas, and with the team that we're going to build in DC, that we can really find creative solutions to some of these wicked problems that we face.
Dr. G, your vision for a more just and sustainable society is both enlightening and empowering. And your dedication to empowering the youth and fostering academic excellence is truly awe-inspiring. What message of hope and resilience would you like to share with the people of CNMI, especially the younger generation who look up to you as a role model? Also, what message of hope would you like to share with my fellow long-term CW workers, as well as the investors who have been hoping to have a better status here in this beautiful island of Marianas that we also call home?
Well, let me answer the first question about those who have come from far away to build our economy and build our community. One thing I know is that you are such a hard worker, and there's so many hard workers, and I just, that work ethic is something that I strive to emulate. I strive to, it's hard, it's hard to leave your home, come here, make a new home, and make a new life. And I've just been always so moved by that work ethic. And it's something that gives me hope. And who am I to tell someone, oh, you need to do this, this, and that, when I can learn from them how to work harder and how to work better. So, and when it comes to the youth, honestly, yes, I want to bring a message of hope to them, but I think one reason why I've been in education for so long is that I find such hope in young people. Like young people, what's so amazing about the youth is that they look at what's possible. They haven't been sort of weathered by experience. There's such innocence in their hopes and their aspirations, their dreams, and I get hope out of that. I love working with young people when they're putting on a play, or when they're learning about literature, or whether they're coming together to do community service, because they don't focus on how or why things can't be done. They're constantly thinking about how we can make a difference. Exactly. And that brings me hope. So yes, I fully intend to bring hope to our community, but I also find great hope in the people in our community, whether it be those who are working hard or young people who are dreaming big.
Right. And Dr. G, for my final question, can you tell us why are you the best candidate for the position? And why should the people of CNMI vote for you as their delegate in the U.S. House of Representatives?
I think three things. The first is, wherever I go, whatever I do, whether it be in the classroom on a stage, on the film screen, in a boardroom, policy development, in leadership positions. Whatever I do, I always work really hard to make things better for everyone. And that's the kind of spirit I fully intend to bring to Washington, D.C., is to work hard to make things better. And everywhere I've gone, that's what I do. I try to not only make things better, but leave things better than when I first got there. The second thing is what I learned from my mom, is to just see the best in people and to not demonize them. And I think when we do that, when we look at our political opponents and people on the other side, and rather than seeing the worst in them, finding the best in them and using that to bring more hope to our community, I think that optimistic, hopeful spirit is another thing that I bring. And the third thing that I think is very, very important is in any professional role I've ever held, I always approach things with the utmost respect and the utmost dignity. Because if you are entrusted with a leadership position, if you're entrusted as a teacher for young people, if you're entrusted with all these responsibilities, it's incumbent upon you to approach that work with nothing but respect and dignity. And you know, when Kililio was in Washington, D.C., he said that this office belongs to the people. And that means we need to bring the best of the people of the CNMI to Washington, D.C., and not, you know, play around and whatever with social media, but to really treat that office with respect and dignity. And that's something that I've always done no matter where I go, and I will definitely do that should I be given the humbling privilege of representing our people in the halls of U.S. Congress.
Well said and well done, Dr. G. Thank you for sharing your insights and wisdom and vision with us today. But one last thing before we let you go, Dr. G. We know that your campaign is doing very well, astronomically well, but of course, we can do better. How can our viewers and people of the CNMI who are watching right now just thinking, I want to support this guy, this is the future, how can they support you?
Well, our campaign welcomes everyone. I mean, on my core committee, I have someone who is a diehard Trump supporter and someone who can't stand Trump. So it's not about like that, it's about what's best for the CNMI. And so we welcome everybody. And probably the best thing to do is to go to galvinforcongress.com. And sign up there. You can sign up as a volunteer. You can learn more about our campaign. You can link to our socials. We're on Facebook and Instagram. But go to galvinforcongress.com and learn more about how you can join our fight as we fight for us.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. G. I believe that's all about it. And to the people of CNMI, if you believe in the power of education and want to see positive change in our community, Dr. Galvin Deleon Guerrero's campaign is one to watch and spread the word about his vision for a brighter future of the CNMI. This has been your host, Happy. I wish us all a better and happy life.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. G.
Thank